Welcome back to Popular by Purpose. If you haven't already, make sure to tune in, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. Today we got an amazing episode with a special guest, but you know who I am. I'm Miguel the Barber. This is my boy Mo. Go ahead, Mo.
What's up, everybody? Show Sharp here. I think it's episode, 7?
Yes, sir.
7. I can't believe it's flying by now. We're season 1. We're doing 10 episodes, so we're getting close there. We really appreciate everybody that's been tuning in. Honestly, I've been very surprised about the feedback, but we both really, really appreciate everybody. Thank you very much. But as I always say, a very special guest today. If I had to pick one word to describe this guy, and I think it's pretty obvious, I'm sure he knows what word I'm about to use, but I would say underdog. I don't even know if that one word?
Yeah.
Okay, one word, underdog. Played football at Florida State, went undrafted, played in a pretty loaded DB room when he came in as a walk-on. And went undrafted, played in the NFL for a few years, played in the Canadian football, the CFL for a few years. New book author. And congrats on that, man. And it's my boy Javien Elliot, man. What's up, baby?
Yo, man. Thank you,
appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Somebody I was scared to ask to get on the show, he offered, man. Humble guy right here.
I appreciate you guys for having me, man.
Seriously, bro. Welcome.
All right, so bro, to cover real quick.
Actually, I want to start this. I want to start this with saying I was Florida State team barber for 4 years, right? And while he was there, and this guy was such an underdog, I never met him at Florida State. I met him in Orlando, because this is where you bought your house, right? In Orlando? Mm-hmm. Is it Orlando? I know it's kind of far.
Yeah.
This guy drives, like 45 minutes to get a cut?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so appreciate you, bro, seriously, for all the years of business. But such an underdog that, I knew his name. I knew who he was. He started, you know what I'm saying, when he was out there. But I never even got to cut his hair there, man. And I just think that's funny. I was thinking about that today, how we never met out there, bro.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That sounds like quiet confidence.
It's wild, bro.
That means you probably have like since I met you here, you're always very quiet to yourself, but you have a lot of success.
Yeah.
And it's like if some people don't get to know that. I want to cover some of that. We want to get to success, but before we get there, like we gotta go to the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Beginning. You know, when you were conceived. Nah, it's too far back. But like parents, like where were you born and raised? Like where are you from? If you could cover some of those moments.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was born actually in Fayetteville, North Carolina. A lot of people may not know that.
Nice.
That's because I really only stayed there for my first year. My dad was in the military, so ended up moving to Panama City, Florida, which is where all of my family is at. So really raised in Florida, small town kid. Yeah.
Nice.
Were you there your whole life? Like up until
I lived in Panama City my whole life, man.
Football there and everything?
I never really knew much outside of Panama City. I didn't really travel a lot. The only time I would travel is to see family, maybe in a different city or state. Like that's really it, man.
That's amazing though, because that shows structure and like good anchoring and foundation in your family. We moved a lot. We didn't have me personally, I moved a lot growing up. So I always wished I had that ability to say I went to school here and I was raised here. And it's kind of what I'm seeking out for my son now. So that's good to hear.
Yeah. See, the thing is like the thing about that is having a village, kind of like what you said, which is one of the things that I talk about in my book, where to kind of get to know me is to know where I'm from. Getting to know me is to knowing that I'm like a culmination of all of my family members. It's like obviously God created me unique, but the support system in the village that I had, it's like I was able to take traits from different cousins. We had a big family. So it's a great thing to have.
Did you have a lot of your family in Panama City?
Yeah. My entire family was there. I may have had like my dad, he may have lived in a different city, maybe had an uncle and auntie live in Wisconsin. Then I had another uncle like in the military, but essentially like my whole family we were all together.
We're a tight family?
Yeah, we were, especially growing up, but when you get older and, people pass away, like things kind of change, but overall, I would say we were a tight family.
Nice.
You have like siblings too, like sisters, brothers? How many siblings you got?
So my parents split, so I have two. I have a brother and sister on my mom's side, and then I have 3 brothers, 4. One passed away, but I have 3 brothers on
Rest
my
his
dad's
soul.
side. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wow, bro, a lot of siblings. That's good.
Yeah.
Like my son, I only have one kid, and I always I come from like siblings. You come from siblings. I think they're important because they kind of do like mold you either by mistake or on purpose. Do you have any like family growing up as you were a child that you kind of saw as an older brother or older sister that kind of was always there present for you?
Yeah, well, like I'm the oldest, so like
Oh, wow.
being the oldest kind of like puts you in a position of leadership without even knowing it. But also I had like older cousins that were like my older siblings, where they were like 10 years older than me. So I kind of like grew up fast because they were like those were like my older brothers, and I wanted to be like them. So yeah, that's. When it comes, I never really had older brothers, but that was just like when it comes
Yeah,
to
me
like,
too. I had an older cousin. You have an older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trust me,
that's
he
huge.
got thrown into that leadership role day one.
Yeah.
He did a
Yeah.
great job, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah, I love my brother. Seriously. But what is it like in Panama, bro? I never been.
Yeah, so it's a small town. It's everybody know everybody. It's pretty. I would say it is a good place to raise a family, but obviously you have it's a tale of two sides. Almost like I don't want to compare it to Miami because it's like it's the beach side in comparison to Miami. You have like South Beach, but you have Panama City Beach, and then you have like the other side of Panama City, which is just like the side that everybody bypasses or may not really know because all they know is spring break. But on my side of town, it wasn't really that. It was quite the opposite. Honestly, I don't want to.
Was it a rough area, or did you grow up in a good area?
I mean, kind of both. Like, I don't want to make it seem like it's just so rough, but it's not like it ain't. It's middle class for sure. It's kind of
Hard working, everybody's
hard
working,
work.
everybody got a
Yeah,
job.
yeah, and also like it's not aesthetically pleasing. It is some like ghetto areas or so I kind of grew up in the mix of both. I didn't grow up like in the streets, but I grew up in the hood. If that makes sense. Like,
No,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah,
I get it. I grew up in church my whole life. Like my mom would take me to church. We would go religiously Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Sundays. And then I told her, like, just because I went to church, I mean I didn't live in the hood. I mean, like, we were poor. Like, at least we were poor. We lived in the hood. But they tried. There was times, like, where it was green and money was good and we were living somewhere good for a year. And there was times where the next year was, like, right back. But we still had the same service on Sunday. So I get it. You weren't there, but you were there. I get the concept.
yeah.
Did you grow up in the church? Because I know God is a big part of your life. That's one thing that you promote so much, and I've seen when God really stepped into your life for real. Maybe it was before, but I know when you started becoming more like open about it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So how did that? Where did you grow up in the church and stuff?
Yeah. So what's interesting, like without even y'all knowing it, it's just the questions that y'all are asking are really like aligning with my book because like I think it's chapter 3 where it's like me telling my story of like finding God almost. And I did grow up in the church, but I wasn't a church boy. Kind of like you know how it is. Like I go to
Sleeping in the
church.
bag.
My uncle was a pastor, so anytime I stayed the night at my uncle and auntie house, it's like, hey, you got to go to church. So yeah, I did grow up in the church, but I was still kind of doing my own thing. It was more like a community and more like a hangout spot, family for me. And then it wasn't until I got older. I'll put it this way. Always knew who God was, always believed in God, and always sought God, knowing like where my blessings came from and for protection and all of those things. But it wasn't until I would say maybe a couple years ago where it comes to like fully surrendering, like, you know what, I really give my life to God and this is where I want to go. So that's kind of where I'm at now, to the point where so when you said like you kind of knew but didn't know, but so yeah, that's just where I'm at now in my relationship with
Off camera, when I was cutting his hair, I mentioned something that when I said it, I was kind of like, man, I wish I would have asked you on the pod. But we're talking about how like being open now, let people knowing that you're a God-fearing man and stuff like that. And like, when did it not exactly happen, but when you went, to social media to motivate people, because that's one thing you're really big on, is motivating the youth, motivating anybody really. And because, I watch all your content, bro, and it's all I sit there and I watch, you know what I'm saying? I watch all those videos, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like
It's
your
amazing. I
content,
always
bro.
see it like by Miguel the Barber, you know what I'm
appreciate
saying?
your content, bro.
And one, like because I told him, I was like, remember that video I posted of praying 5 times a day?
Yeah.
I said I was actually nervous to post that because I was like, man, now that's like the standard. You know what I'm saying? That's like what people are gonna hold me to. So if you see me out and I'm doing something that guy on Instagram is not doing, it might look bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
So
what
it's
you mean.
like being, I don't know if the word's vulnerable to be that way on Instagram or to put yourself out there. Do you feel like, for me, being nervous to that, did you have that same type of mindset when you chose to be like, I'm gonna put God first?
Of course, because people see you as the former version of yourself, right? So like, imagine like people, whether they know you in person or through social media, they know you as the guy who used to party. They know you as the guy who used to, have fun or
Yeah.
whatever, like playing in the league. So you know what comes with that. So, but then all of a sudden, it's like you take a social media break, and then all of a sudden you're starting to plant seeds of like spiritual, like believing in God, believing in Christ, and you're talking about God. And some people may in your inner circle may have knew like, hey, this is, yeah, we know him, like we know he believes in God, but then it's like, he's like putting it out there. No, I'm not a pastor,
Yeah,
but
you know what I mean?
but
That's how
actually
they
like
view it, though.
ministering.
That's how they gonna view it every time.
People do, like anytime
Yeah.
you go, publicly with your relationship with God, people will say it like that. But the thing about that is like, kind of like what we talked about when it comes to being nervous. Like I posted one of I tried it on TikTok first because I knew like my TikTok audience, no one knew. Like no one knew me. TikTok is going to push it to strangers. So before I posted it on Instagram, which is mainly all the people that know me,
personal,
and it did well on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, you know what? Let me just start posting it on Instagram. And like those thoughts do come to your mind. Like, what are people going to think? Are they going to judge you? Are they going to bring up your past and all of that stuff? And all that's going to come with it. But at the same time, it's like, you're also like introducing who you are now. Like I know that's who I used to be and the things I used to do, but this is who I am now.
Bro,
and
on the
also
money.
like being able to talk about purpose, being able to make an impact on people's lives, and just plant those seeds. Because the crazy thing about it, I never told this. I really never told this story like that before, but that's actually how I met my wife, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like by posting a video about waiting till marriage. So,
Nice.
so it's
I
like
remember that post.
not saying that you do it for the blessings, but you never know how God will use
Beautiful.
the things that by glorifying His name.
Yeah.
Like you never know. So,
Sometimes his big, I agree on this. Sorry. Sometimes
go
his
ahead.
biggest blessing, he's holding until you commit to him.
Yeah.
And he's just there like this. He's like, almost like, I hate to say it like this, but he's just there watching you, waiting for you to commit publicly to him, because he knows your heart, and he knows that once you commit publicly, like we all have that similar personality. We're like go-getters, right? You got what you got in life because you were a go-getter, you were a dog, and we're gonna get to that story. And when you commit publicly, you're telling the world, like, I'd rather me deliver the message to you than one day he asked me, how come you never delivered the message to him? And I lost a close friend at 20 that rest in peace, passed away in my hands. And my biggest thing I always think about today is like, man, I could have delivered the gospel to him and I didn't. And that always, like, sometimes I'm in bed praying and it breaks me down because I think about, that was the one person that I was so close to and I just didn't tell him. And now I got friends that be like, hey, Miguel, you better not do that, you Christian. And I laugh. And I'm like, I jokingly tell them, well, hey, lucky for you, I'm in your corner, brother.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, because you're Muslim.
But I truly believe that you pray for them and it's still going to count. You know what I'm saying? You can still pray for them and you can be his ticket to heaven.
I pray for
you
my
know
boy
what
all
I'm
the
saying?
time, man.
But I do want to get into football. But before that, since we're on this topic, I want to know when you started playing football and sports and stuff. Let's get into that. But I do got to tell you, bro, you have a big impact on my life. I'm not joking. I probably don't tell you that enough, but seeing the change that you've made, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you play in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like, you done made some good money. You done been around in some rooms that a lot of people don't go in those rooms. I've been in those rooms. I know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen you change, and it made me just look like, dang, bro, this guy played in the league.
yeah.
And he's posting that. And he's acting like that. Who am I to think like I can't change my, you know what I'm saying? Like cutting your hair and seeing the same, like seeing your change, bro. And I'm sure you've seen the same with me. We both have these conversations. I'm Muslim, you're Christian, you know, he's Christian. The conversations that we have, we don't butt heads when it comes to religion.
No.
You know what I'm saying? We see each other and we hear each other out and we're like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I really, it's not even it is a thank you, but it's really like, bro, you really are motivating people.
Yeah.
I promise you, even if you just only motivated me, you good. That's all it's for, bro. If it's just one person.
That's
you know what
true.
I'm saying?
That's true. And I appreciate that because sometimes you really don't know.
Bro.
Sometimes it's like, I try not to get so caught up in like, oh, I want this video to go viral, but more so like, who is this video for?
Bro.
So a lot of times I receive feedback, but at the same time, it's like, you just never know. So
Yeah, man.
Sometimes I get it. Sometimes the feedback you get, like you didn't want to, at least for me, we'll get feedback for the podcast. And it'll be someone telling me something and it's not that they said it the wrong way, but you're like, man, but dang, should I change the way I did this? Should we alter this? And we got to realize, me and Mo sometimes I'm like, yo, man, we know what we want to do. We know why we named it that. We know why we want to build this podcast. We know we have this guest. Let's just target that. Let's just go full-fledged. And people will have their reviews and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. For sure.
But we're going to get back into God. We're going to get back. You know what I'm saying?
We got to get into
I want to know about football, bro. I need to talk about football.
It's a crazy
Did you
journey.
only play football? Did you play basketball, tennis? What did you do, bro? How'd you get into sports?
And how old were you when you first got into sports?
And another question. I'm going to give you 10 questions at once, bro.
Yeah.
Did you mainly grow up with your mom in the house or your dad's house? I want to know that real quick.
Mainly in my mom's.
Okay,
mainly,
cool.
Yeah, mainly
Okay,
in my
cool.
mom's.
So now let's get into it.
Yeah. So my story is I've been playing sports since I could pretty much walk, like basketball, football. Officially, I started playing football when I was 5, basketball at 7, but
Contact football.
contact football. Yeah. So like
Big helmets.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, everything. So always been active in sports. That's all. Like there's not really been a time or a year where I wasn't playing sports until I graduated high school. But
Nice.
always involved, competitive. Always just always kind of been part of my story.
Nice. So what about high school sports?
High school sports, yeah. High school sports, I played football. I was on a weightlifting team. I played basketball for a little bit, but I ended up quitting. Actually, yeah, I ended up quitting.
You don't like that word?
Yeah,
You want to say he quit?
Well, I mean, it was just an interesting
Decommit,
story.
let's use that word.
I
Decommit into
quit it.
basketball,
I
yeah.
actually wish I didn't because it was my sophomore year, and like, there's a kind of funny story behind it. But I ended up, I don't know what happened. I was at my auntie's house, and somebody knocked on the door, and they had asked for my cousin. And then I was just remember telling them like, oh no, he's not here. And then by the time I closed the door, I just remember going back to the couch and passing out and hitting my head on the wall. And like when I passed out, like I fell on the couch with my head like this on the arm of the chair, and I woke up and my whole family was like in front of me. I don't know why I passed out, but my coach caught wind of that, and he ended up like not starting me the next game. And I was like, oh nah, like I'm done.
was like, "Ah, well,
Yeah, I quit, bro. Like, you know, but not. I mean, like again, like I was playing good. I was starting, but
What grade?
I was in the 10th grade, and I
Play
never
point
went
guard?
back. Yeah, I just never went back. I wish I did, but I never went back. But
So you got a jumper.
at the time, I was more so just like, I always like looked at my game as like Allen Iverson or hot sauce, like, you know, real skill, like real like crossing people over, just driving. Yeah. I could shoot, but that wasn't like something that I was like doing like until I got older and
How
I
old
got
are
better
you?
at shooting. Right now,
Yeah.
31.
Okay, now that makes sense.
Birthday in
Yeah.
March.
Nah, that makes sense.
30, huh?
March? Your birthday?
July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the kids now, like, I think there was a moment, we always cover this for like everyone play basketball. There's a moment where like basketball was about playmaking, getting to the
Right.
basket. Like if you play point guard, you had to get to the basket to
Yeah.
open the lanes. So like now kids, bro,
They trying to pull up.
kids
Yeah, they trying to
they're
pull
just
up.
throwing up shots, bro.
Curve.
Yeah.
Change
That
the
rim
game.
down there somewhere.
So at what age? So you started playing football. I'm guessing you played Pop Warner, all that, all through that, right? Competition. Like when did you know you were good at football? There has to be a time where you're like, yo, I'm good at football. Or
What-
someone
what
say, hey,
position?
good job. Like
Man, my whole life. And I say
Oh, you was that dude.
and I say that in the most humble way. Like, I've always been good. Now when it comes to how good am I to play at the next level, or am I better than the person next to me? I've always had those type of doubts, but I've always known that I was a good player.
Yeah.
But just kind of like I've always like had insecure moments. Like, I don't want to just make it seem like I just walked around like, you know,
I'm that
like,
dude.
I'm him. Like, even it's like I did, but I also doubted myself just because I was always smaller than everybody, or just not really knowing, you know, like the talent. Speaking of like where I grew up, people not making it to the NFL. Like, people not really. Some people go D1, but it's like kind of like rare. Probably more people are going now because it's you know, the talent is a little bit better, but it wasn't something tangible. It wasn't something where I can be like, oh, I want to be like him.
Yeah, nobody in
Or
high
like,
school made it
exactly,
to the league.
exactly.
Okay.
So it's like I didn't know if I was working hard enough, or I didn't know if I had what it took. I didn't even know how to get recruited. So it's like I knew I was good, but just didn't have that much guidance.
So, not having any offers, you had 0 offers,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
Did you get recruited at all? Like, did any scouts talk to you? Did anybody talk to you at all? Like, was it grades? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but it wasn't anything grand. It wasn't anything like, you know, people knocking at my door. I never had like a
No
coach
letters.
coming. I had letters. That was about the extent of what I had.
And go ahead.
Nah, that was just it. Like, I just had letters. Mainly, I didn't really get.
I know the high school game changed so much now with kids are getting offered at 707s now. It's a different game. When we were in high school, bro, it was the Nike Scout, whatever, Spark Combine, right? And then 300 kids went and one kid got offered maybe. You know, nobody was really out there getting offers. The guys that already had offers didn't even participate, you know what I'm saying? So do you feel like it was a part of like lack of trying to get recruited? Like do you think the reason was? Was it the size? What was it?
I think it was everything, man. I think honestly, ultimately, like when I look at it from my perspective now, it was just all a part of God's plan. Like, because my story wouldn't be the story if I got
100%.
recruited, if I had stars, if I had scholarships, if I went to college right after high school, my story wouldn't be the same.
If you
But
stuck with
just
basketball, maybe you wouldn't play football and I wouldn't have took it there. You know, a lot of things that could have changed.
yeah,
It's
you
crazy
never
how
know.
purpose is, yeah.
You never know. But honestly, I didn't. Even though I was really good at football, I didn't really play that much my first 3 years. Freshman year, I was on JV. Sophomore year, I was on varsity, but I just I got in every now and then. Junior year, made some noise, but honestly, it was just like who knows. And I really tell the full story in my book.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the book.
Because like I don't want to give the story away as far as
100%.
like why. But at the same time, if I tell the reason, then I don't want to like talk down on nobody.
Yeah.
You know? So like, you know, I just kind of,
Respect.
it's like a respect thing. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I think also too in today's like day and age, like these kids have a million ways for exposure. You know, like you might have had one crazy play that no one's seen because there wasn't a camera, you know, 15 years ago that people would just pull out their phone at 4K quality. You know what I'm saying? Like now these dudes are pulling out, what is the new iPhone? 4K 60 frames or something like that? Like, dude, like, you're catching, Will, what is it like that, right? 4K 60 frames? The new iPhones?
4K 240.
4K 240 on your phone. Right there, someone catch it.
on the sideline.
On the sideline, like nothing where like the exposure now is so much easier than back then, bro. It's ridiculous. So how did you? We're not gonna let's not cover too much in detail because we want to get to your book, and I know your book is something that we want people to link in bio.
I don't know if you know, he didn't play football for 3 years after high school.
For real?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is a crazy story. This is part of the book, brother. That's what we're talking about.
So right after high school, you just took 3 years off. You were working or something?
I was. It's not like I was just like, oh, I want to take 3 years off.
You was trying in the process.
I was actually bored, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just go walk on to Florida State, bro. Like,
but at your last high school game, did you think it was your last football game?
Yes, I did because my last we played. It's a team in Pensacola, West Florida. I think I had a punt return for a touchdown. Like I balled out, going crazy. But
playoffs or regular season?
No, just a regular. We went 3-7 that year. I thought it was my last game. Actually, you know what? It's like I thought it was my last game, but I always had hopes that something would come through.
Yeah.
Like I had nothing lined up, but it's like, man, I just hope something come through that I can keep playing football.
Yeah.
So that was just like kind of my mindset. Again, not having guidance. Like, hey, here's how you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
now that you look back at it, guidance, bro. I always bring my son up for everything. God bless my son. guidance is everything, bro. Because you don't realize how much you need it until later on in life when you've accomplished some success or you've achieved some success, right? You look back, you're like, man, if I get it, it happened now, but if I would have had it here, it would have happened sooner. And again, it's God's plan. But for the future, whenever you have your child, bro, like it's important.
Yeah.
So you look back at it, I'm guessing you're saying like, man, like you could have had little pockets, little moments that could have helped you out.
Yeah, of course.
Made the road a little bit easier, I guess we could say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What college did you go to those 3 years when you got your AA?
I went to community college in my hometown. I went to TCC, kind of just taking that route, going the community college route.
Shout out
Just
community colleges too. A lot of people don't want to do that, bro. A lot of young kids like, listen, man.
And you just went to kill time. It's
go get your
essentially,
you wanted a degree.
I did, but I didn't know what I want. I didn't know what I was or who I was outside of football. So, I was just kind of like depressed a lot of times, or it kind of just felt like I was just existing type of thing, but didn't really have purpose. So those 3 years, it's like I had something to look forward to because I did find out that I was going to be able to walk on at Florida State, but it just would have taken me to get my AA degree. And that kind of like delayed some time. But other than that, it was just like, I'm just going to school. I was working at TJ Maxx, at Lids, stores like that,
Intelli?
Journeys.
Intelli or back in college?
I worked at Lids in Panama City and in Tally. So I worked at Governor Square.
So while you was playing at Florida State, you had a job? Because you was a walk-on?
This was before I started playing.
Oh, okay.
All the way up until I started playing, I had a job,
Bro, retail is so hard too.
Yeah.
I tell you about retail, like people, like this is a big debate between like what's harder, working retail or working as a server, and now people like, it's retail, it's not even close. Like you go fold the clothes, put a hat back, you're like, you just put it up, you gotta do this again.
Yo, yesterday,
people ask the craziest questions.
Yesterday I was at, a couple days ago, Black Friday sale. Bro, I was in there, I grabbed some shirts. I didn't even put it like bad back. And I just seen Buddy looking at the side. And I was like, I act like I wasn't done with it. I went back, started putting it back. So bad. I didn't even mess it up, but he just made me feel bad. I was like,
I'll be tight, I feel like the average size.
He was folding some shit.
I feel like the average size for shirts, like I think they should be like small, medium, larges. They put them all like I gotta go to, and I'm a large, extra large. I gotta go to the bottom to get it.
But anyways,
retail's hard because having to balance that, bite your tongue, I'm sure, and also
and go get screamed at by
and try to
Jimbo.
get your AA. You're like, man, bro.
I worked in retail. It was TJ Maxx was probably the most difficult one. It wasn't terrible, but it was just like, again, everything we talk about, like having to clean up at the end of the day, kind of doing that
holiday
thing.
seasons there?
Yeah, I always.
Because I know holiday seasons.
For years.
Yeah. So it's just like people tear the store up, but I always worked in retail because I didn't really see myself working in anything else because I just wanted to use my discounts type of thing. So, like
that's genius.
Jeans, clothes,
that's genius.
snapbacks, all that. Yeah.
You got
So
double dip, call it double dipping.
When you said that you knew you were going to walk on at Florida State, was that a connection you had? How'd you know that you were going to be able to have an opportunity to walk on?
Yeah, my dad, he always believed in me. He always believed in the talent that I had, and he just, the type of guy he is, he goes full throttle. Like if he, sees anything promising or potential, he's going to go all in. So he just reached out to a lot of schools and sent my tape to Florida State, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll let him walk on."
It was preferred walk on?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't really say preferred walk on because, I was a freshman in college, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll let him walk on, but get your AA degree first." Yeah. So it's like in a few years type of thing.
Yeah.
So never gonna happen, probably.
Yeah, that time. So how old are you now walking on?
When I actually did become a walk on.
Yeah.
I want to say I was 19, 20, something like that.
You always had good grades? Because you had to get accepted into Florida State, right?
I did, but I didn't always have great grades. Like it's not like I was average. Honestly,
C?
Yeah, more C's, couple B's, maybe an A. Yeah. But I didn't really have like A, B on the roll a lot. But that's one thing that I wish that I did do, because just knowing, like, I'm a learner now. Like, I really like now that I like have grown. Like, I love to learn. Like when we was talking before the show, it was like talking about reading. Like I love to read. Like just because I just love to learn. Even when it comes to being a content creator, a book, an author, or anything, coaching, being a football player. Like I really like, when I think about playing football, that's like one of the main things that I love. Like I just love like studying, watching film, learning.
Nice.
So I wish I just applied that to school.
So with the whole walk-on thing, I'm just curious to know, is it like a separate workout for walk-ons, or do you just hop in first day of camp and go with the DBs? Like,
Yes. Well, when I first got to Florida State, I got there, we were doing fourth quarters, which is like, it's like a rite of passage, honestly. It's going to test you to see if you really want to play football. It's one of the most difficult things that you can go through as a football player.
and what is it?
It's called fourth quarters. It was our conditioning program before spring football. So honestly, it was just like weight room, and then speed and agility and conditioning.
And this is the Jimbo Fisher era.
Yeah, when Jimbo Fisher was there. So
The year after the national championship was when he walked on.
Yeah, those probably different fourth quarter.
yeah.
But hold on, yo. So when you got on the team, bro, you know they say I want to ask you, what's your welcome to the league moment? Did you have a welcome to ACC, Florida State, fresh off a natty moment?
Like on the field?
On the field, when were you like maybe humbled? Or you like, cause think about it. He walked into a room, bro. Jalen Ramsey, Derwin James.
Or it don't gotta be when you were humble, or a
Quez.
moment where you could say, "Oh, I can hang." Because sometimes you show up,
Oh, that, yeah.
and like a moment where you're like, "Oh, I can hang." Like, wait,
Yeah, there you go. Because you ended up starting with those names.
So there had to be a moment
You know?
like that for you. What was
That's
it?
a better question.
Man, the fourth quarter workouts for sure, when, just even being able to get the coaches to know what my name
You see
is.
some dudes die out there, huh?
Huh?
You see some dudes die out.
Well,
That's
yeah,
I done
year.
seen some dudes on the
Yeah.
floor like this.
You know it's the
Say,
line.
"Hey, get up, boy!"
Yeah, you're gonna have people that's gonna fake an injury or two to not do it.
Yeah,
But
facts.
well, for me, it was just like every day, man. Every day it was just like a confidence booster. But even
Loved it. You worked for this for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So you were there excited to be there. You're like, come on, like.
Yeah, but even for me, spring practice, like my first, and I talk about this in the book, where my first practice, I had a pick six. Right. So it's just like
Statement.
to go from not playing football for 3 years to becoming a walk-on, where players don't know who you are, coaches don't know who you are. And then like your first day you get a pick six. It's like, okay, that's like confirmation. Like, okay, like I'm exactly where I need to be.
I know you try to be humble and you didn't want to say no names, but who'd you pick off? If you could say it, do you remember? I just don't know if it was Jabu.
Yeah,
Was it
I
Jabu?
remember. You got to read the book. No, I actually don't remember though, for real. Like, I remember, but I don't.
Okay.
I remember, but I don't. It was
Okay,
it was probably one of
couldn't
these
believe
two.
you had the ball in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, honestly for me, it was just like going out there to make plays, having a mindset to be a dog. Honestly,
Yeah.
like I don't know, like to go from barely, I don't want to say barely, like just having raw talent to go to playing at Florida State or practicing. And for me, it was like, I don't have technique. I don't know coverages,
Yeah.
but I'm a dog.
Yeah. Just tell me,
compete.
and I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna compete.
Yeah.
Like that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Going in, my whole thing was just compete.
So with I want to know this question because I want to know if you have the same answer as me. People always ask me, out of the athletes that I know, who have I seen that's just like, who have I witnessed in practice or anything that's just a freak of nature? Who just was it? Who was like, he don't even have to try, he gonna do it. You got an answer for that at Florida State?
I would say Jalen Ramsey and Derwin.
That's my
James.
answer, bro.
Both
Derwin
of them. Honestly, they both.
I was there when
the
Jalen was
same.
there.
I mean, obviously they have things that's different, but it's just like it's.
You know my
Man, Derwin would wake up and go play for an NFL game. You know what I'm saying?
You
Like,
know what my biggest moment was, like, where I realized there's a big difference in humans? Remember Chris shout out Chris. She used to call Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
And he walked in and he walked past and it's like, damn, that's Latavius Murray. This is him
Running
playing
back.
the league.
Yeah,
And he sits
yeah.
down, his thighs are no diddy. His thighs are like this, his feet are like this, his hands are like
his knees
this.
was out here.
And I looked and I said, damn, that's a running back.
Yeah.
In that moment right there, it was like, for me, I look at certain players, like Derrick Henry, you met him before in person. those guys are just special though. The majority of guys aren't like that. You know what I'm saying? What was the hardest tackle you made in your football career? Or you tackled someone, right? Obviously, because it's a tackle, and you said, "Damn, I just tackled, bro." Like, did you have one of those moments? Whether it was in high school, football,
A
something.
lot.
Had to be one moment where you tackled someone and you looked over, you was like, you looked at bro, you were like, damn.
Oh man. I mean, the first one, I don't know if it was the toughest hit,
Yeah.
but I just think of like when we played Houston
Okay.
in the bowl game. I think about that. I remember he ran a bubble route and just crashed out. Like, you know,
remember
and
that
I just
bowl
remember like those moments. Like the thing about those hits and what you'll never get when you're done playing football is like when you make those plays. And yes, but at the same time, it's like you don't hear it. It's like everything, it just gets, it's like, I don't want to say it gets silent, but it's just like, you're just so in the zone.
You're so locked in, it's like you got muscle.
It's like, it's just like,
Yeah.
you just, everything is muffled and you
You don't hear yourself breathing.
you just talking, I'm talking about after
just
the
playing
play.
ball.
And you just talking your talk, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's
talking
dope.
trash,
That's dope.
yeah.
That energy you get.
That energy, that adrenaline, yeah.
It's incredible.
So, okay. You want to cover more college or should we move on? Should we ask any
man,
more
bro,
college
probably-
questions? Because I mean, I could be here all day asking you Florida
It's probably
State
so much
questions.
you could cover in
But
college,
I
but
can't.
we're gonna cover the book. Listen, it's in the book, man. What's the book called?
Yeah.
Tell them right here.
So my book is called Unconquered Walk On, and it's just telling my story of how I went from 0 scholarships to Florida State in the NFL. It's my story. It's a memoir. It's my story, but it's meant to inspire others. So, but yeah, any questions, man? Like,
But so how when it came to the book, like I remember you sit in my chair and you told me I'm writing a book. I'm like, book? Like how?
Yeah.
Where you start? What'd you say first? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so what was like, what sparked that?
What sparked it? You know, it started when going back to before I even played in my first game at Florida State, before I earned a scholarship, just envisioning myself like, dang, like, you know, you walk on and you start, you know, one, walking on to earn a scholarship and then walking on and starting, like, that's a book right there. So in a sense, it's like always thinking like, one day I want to write a book, like not knowing how, like, but just like if this happens or when this happens, like I want to be able to tell my story because there are some stories out there and it's like, okay, you know, if they wrote a book and they got a movie based on their story, like imagine if I do this.
Yeah.
So just kind of like thinking about it in that
I never
way.
thought about that too. Like you said it best, like walking on and starting at that at FSU, fresh off
the natty, bro. You walk into a meeting. And did you know anybody on the team when you got there?
Yeah, but not personally, like relationship wise.
That's what I'm saying.
Just like the only way that I knew people was just like by spectating, like knowing like, oh, that's Jalen or that's Jameis or that's, you know, just because I used to watch. Like I was watching them. You know, I went from. It's funny, like I remember when I was working at Lids in Governor Square Mall in Tallahassee, and just seeing the guys come in. Like they're wearing their Florida State gear and you see their numbers and then you're like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then you look them up and it's like, oh, okay, that's such and such. Not on no fanboy stuff, but it's just like.
Did you ever run into one of those guys later on when you were playing at FSU?
They were there, yeah. So I went from like essentially like selling these dudes hats and lids to like, now I'm playing alongside them.
Starting
in the game.
Hey, I'm telling you, man. And,
that's so fire.
Will, bro, that's so fire. That's a great.
Your story's crazy, bro. First book I ever gonna read is this guy's book right here.
That's a
appreciate
great
it.
episode. Link gonna be on bio too, man. Don't forget about link gonna be in bio, man.
Yeah.
So you get to college football, you're playing, boom. Around what time would you say that guys like Jalen or Derwin start to recognize you? Like not saying necessarily them, but the guys that were starters,
coaches,
that earned pretty much you earn their trust because at this point you're on the field, and for those who don't know football, obviously, I hope they do, but if they don't know football, every position correlates to every position at once. You know what I'm saying? One guy's off, the whole team's off. So at what point do you feel like you had earned their trust? Was it further on or?
I think earning trust, like
It's a lot that goes back to the football field. You know what
it's a lot that goes into it, but it's like, okay, it's one thing to earn respect. Like, okay, he's not just a regular walk-on, like he's good. But then it's like, okay, earning trust, okay, I can play alongside, like he can play with, like we can be on the field at the same time. That comes with every day. Every day you gotta earn your trust. Every day you gotta show that you're gonna be where you're supposed to be when you need to be there every day. you got to show up and make plays every day. You got to come in there earning trust. It's like, okay, trust is earned, but like I'm a demand it. Like I'm finna come in here and take it. Like everything was my mindset was y'all gonna know who I am. Y'all gonna.
I love that.
But yeah, and the main thing is the coaches. Like obviously the players, you're gonna get the trust from the players first, most likely before the coaches, because you know, players know what it's like. You know, coaches, they have guys that they want to play. You know, they have guys that's gonna be making more
recruit,
money,
you know what I'm
have more
saying?
stuff. Exactly. So it's like the players, they'll be more like, you know, take you under their wing, earning their trust as a coach. You got to, like, in my situation, I had to do everything right. Like I didn't really have much room for
fail.
error. Like I did, but at the same time, it's like can't be making the same mistakes all the time, or you know, just yeah.
Makes sense.
Wow, bro, that's
So,
incredible.
well, that's beautiful. Let me ask you. So then, okay, college football's over. You know, you trained for pro day, and did you kind of have the same feeling since after high school? No offers, no nothing. Were you at pro day and you felt like you wasn't getting love, or like after that, like the training for the draft? You know, no phone calls, or did you get phone calls? You know what I mean? Was it the same feeling? Did it bring you back to high school days?
Yeah, it did. Because that's interesting, because when you said the one word that comes to mind is underdog, and that's who I am. Like I'm an underdog. So when I'm training for the draft, that's what brought me down here to Orlando, working with Coach Shaw. Appreciate you, Coach Shaw. You know, he got me right, man. One of the best, trained everybody from Deion Sanders to Tom Brady to
Oh damn, I didn't even know that.
yeah.
I know he's the guy.
So my class
crazy.
when I was there, it was me, Derrick Henry, Dak Prescott, and then there was some other guys too. But just like off the top of my head,
They were in Orlando with you.
We were all a 16 class. Like obviously, but when it comes to the question that you asked, like when you're training with those type of guys, like you're training with Dak Prescott or Derrick Henry, like every day they get in a box from Nike, every day they get in a box from Adidas, every day they're showing you that they're getting money going into the draft, right? Like it's that they have a promising future. Whereas me, it's just like, you know, I'm coming in, I'm still wearing the stuff from Florida State. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's just like these guys have more promise in terms of where they're headed.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, okay, I barely have an agent. They have agents knocking at their door every day. So it's just like in those moments, it does make me feel as if like I was an underdog or as if I wasn't getting any love, but it's also because it's like I only played 7 games in college. Like nobody really knows who I am. So
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Damn.
Yeah.
But also in the same sense, like that's what allowed you to get to the league. Because some guys probably don't get to this point where you're at, like you said, the same room, same situation. Not everybody is a Derrick Henry, right? And they can't handle that. And it eats them alive, and they do bad in the combine, and they quit within a year in the NFL because like, oh, it's not for me. Where you kind of work through a lot of things.
Yeah.
So when you went undrafted, you were saying, and then you get a phone call from your agent and kind of puts you on a team, like to practice something, like someone called or something like that, like a team call.
My story was a bit different because when I came out for the draft, I was hoping to get drafted. Regardless of if I played 7 games or not, like it's always a dream to get that phone call, to see your name go across the screen. So while I was waiting for the draft, it just never happened. And once the draft was over, my agent reached out and was like, hey, the Steelers want to sign you. So, there's articles that's being put out of how the walk-on is getting his chance and all of these things about the underdog story. And that's kind of how I got that situation going to be undrafted. But at the same time, that turned out to be false. The Steelers didn't want me to come in there. He kind of just made it up. And so it kind of ended up like being kind of like triggering and traumatizing because like, to be able to get that phone call, like you've got to go play in the league to.
You telling people.
Yeah, to like, they never like, they never wanted me to come in. And so I had to get that whole situation fixed. And I did end up getting an opportunity in Pittsburgh, but it just was, it was just like a very dramatic story.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You talk about it in the book?
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so next.
So when you get to the league, you finally get a chance. What team is it that you ended up going to?
Tampa. I ended up playing with the Bucks. Yep.
Bucks fan.
He's a Bucks fan.
Bucks.
Oh, for real? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's up.
Shout out to Bucks.
My best friend Ivan is a Bucks fan.
No, Ivan's not a
He's a
Bucks
real deal.
fan.
He's a season
Ivan's-
ticket. He's all
Yeah,
that.
he did. That's
Drive
different.
there every home
That's-
game, all that.
Dang.
When you said earlier, like you said when we talked about you look at your past and you see it was all part of God's plan, you know? So in those moments in your life though, did you question God in a sense, in like a negative, positive, whatever it was? Like, did you always have that mindset of like, what do you got next for me? Or did you kind of like kick yourself down like, man, why I'm not good enough, anything like that? You know what I'm saying?
Question God in terms of what?
Like, why not me? Why can't I get drafted? Like in those moments, like, you know what I'm saying, when before you knew you were going to the Bucks and you finally got signed and you were on the practice squad first, right? And then you got signed to the active roster.
Yeah.
So yeah, just did you always question God in those moments, or were you not really God-fearing man as much back then? You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, honestly, I did. Like, not like, I'll just tell this story. When I went to the Steelers for a rookie mini camp, but I was just a tryout, and I didn't make the team. So I ended up having to go back home, and I was just training by myself. Essentially, I was in Panama City at the time, and
No trainer, nothing.
no trainer,
the
nothing.
field.
Just working out,
Nice.
just going off the things that I remember training for the pro day. So, and I remember one day I had got a phone call out of nowhere. It was a Pittsburgh area code. So I'm like, okay, bet the Steelers calling me back. So when I answered the phone, and he's like, hey, Javien, this is a scout from the Bucks, and I'm like, oh snap. He's like, yeah, we want to bring you in, but we don't have any flights. So how can we do this? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm gonna drive right now. And I start to head down there. We had a workout, and when I get there, I ended up not being chosen for the workout. So long story short, when I was driving back, I was embarrassed. I was just like, what do I do? Do I go back to Tallahassee? Do I go back to my hometown? Do I go back to Orlando? I had just drove 6 hours from Panama City, and I didn't make the cut.
Worked out that same day?
I drove. So I drove, and I had to work out the next morning at 7 a.m. And on that drive back, I'm literally probably on like I-4 or something like that. And I'm just like, God, why? Like, why would you bring me down here just to bring me, just to fail, essentially? But at that same time, it's like, in that moment, there was like a still voice where it was just like, just trust God. And so I'm crying too. Like, I'm like crying because, again, this is another moment where I don't know if I'm ever going to play football again. Like, this is the NFL. Who knows, right? So
barely made it to college.
Barely, second opportunity where it's crushing, a heartbreak, because, my passion for the game and just being rejected. But in that same time, I get a phone call in the midst of me crying. And he's like, hey, Javien, you'll never believe this. And I'm like, what's up? It was a scout from the Tampa. He was just like, the guy that we picked over you, he failed his physical. So we wanted to know if you would come back and sign. And I was just like, heck yeah, real quick, right? So, and I was on the interstate, but that's a moment where I question God, but at the same time, God he answered, he came through. So I still have moments where I kind of like be like, God, like, I don't feel like you here. God, what's up?
You know what's crazy? I seen a pastor preach on this, bro. Stephen Furtick, shout out my boy. And sometimes God's voice is the loudest when we question him. It's just so many stories in the scripture, and I hate not to say you're going to disrespect God, but there are moments in your life where you say, really? Like, you're going to put me through this? And then the story of Job is similar. Love that story in the scripture. He's going to respond like, who are you to question me? Like, watch this. All of a sudden, this guy feels his physical, and you're driving, and the phone rings. It's like his timing is perfect.
Yeah.
God's timing is always
How far out were
in
you?
your life.
probably like 45 minutes.
Oh, so which way were you going though? You didn't know? You just hit the road?
I just hit the road, bro. I put
I'm
my
driving
GPS
reverse all the way back. You heard my boy like this.
Yeah, because I think I was going to go back to my apartment in Tallahassee. So either way, it was all going the same
You
direction.
didn't even tell anybody that you didn't make the team or nothing yet? Or
No.
you was too embarrassed to
I
say
was just
anything?
embarrassed. Like, I didn't call nobody.
That was probably one of your lowest moments, huh?
Yeah.
And the heights on the same.
All in the same day.
Wow, that's crazy.
Incredible. That's incredible, man. That's incredible.
So I got a question, bro. When did Javien find who Javien was put on this earth to become? Like, what was your purpose? Like, when did you find out how this is gonna be? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Seeking purpose has always been a thing. Honestly, I'm still searching. Right. I have a better understanding of why I'm here. Part of my calling is to inspire other people, to share my testimony,
Amen.
and to just speak life into people, man. Just look out for the younger generation. And my whole thing is like being a disciple of Christ and inspiring people to persevere, inspiring people to never give up, inspiring people to, take that leap of faith. Obviously, seek God's will. And I do that through various outlets, whether it's through my content or through my book or whatever way. When it comes to me finding out who I am, if you would have asked me this a few years ago, I would have just been like, I'm just an NFL player. I'm just a football player. And just kind of like putting that limit on myself. And that's honestly, that's how a lot of athletes are. Our identity is in what we do.
Yeah.
And so now when people ask me that question, my mindset isn't to be like, oh, I'm an author or I'm this or I'm that. It's more so like, man, I'm just here to encourage people. I'm just here to, show love. I'm here to inspire people and just do what God wants me to do.
I think you're doing a great job, bro. Honestly, proud of you, bro.
I appreciate
it. Beautiful.
I was gonna add on to that, bro. Like my son always be like, Daddy, I want to be this. I'm like, and I don't say this to say it in a bad way, but I always tell my son, like, yo, you want to always deliver the gospel. You always want to preach the word. You always want people to know who Jesus is. I'm always trying to tell him that because it's like in a world that consumes at a level that's nasty, bro. Mm-hmm. All we know is want. We forget that he's supplying our needs. So I always try to plant that seed for my son, and I love to hear that from him because there's so many people that need to know, like, yeah, bro, I play football. I have a great story. But if you got a second, can I tell you about God for a little bit? How important he was in this story?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of, people don't fail to realize sometimes, right? It's like, man, bro, like when God opens up doors, it's like I said, his timing is perfect, bro. So it's incredible that you're doing that, bro. So shout out to you for real.
I got a question, bro. I was on your Instagram today, and I remember a post that you posted about being celibate till marriage. You know what I'm saying? And I remember you said you weren't looking, because I know you found a wife now. Mm-hmm. And I remember when you were on that journey looking for your wife. You felt like you were ready, and she came in your life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm on my journey to find my wife. You know what I mean? And so I'm asking because I kind of have the opposite mentality when it comes to you. When you said you weren't looking to change a woman. You weren't looking to say, hey, let's be celibate with me. You wanted a girl that was on that path too. Yeah. And I saw that. And because like me, I take the opposite approach. I'm kind of like, that's cool for sure. That'd be perfect. But me, I look at it as like, I'm on this path, and maybe I can motivate you to be on this path with me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I know you weren't probably super against it, but what was that like? Like, how'd you come about? Did you have awkward conversations with people, like when you made that decision to be celibate?
Awkward conversations? I wouldn't really say I had awkward conversations, but it was more so like about having discernment, because again, going from not being celibate regardless of NFL or not, like anytime you're in that, sex is it's of the flesh, and also it's like it's something that is really hard to detach from, to be set free from, in terms of like. Amen.
Really hard.
Yeah. So
lust of the flesh is one of the hardest things.
Exactly. So
For men at least. I can't speak for women.
Everybody, right?
Amen. Everybody.
But when it comes to like trying to find out who's for me and having those conversations, honestly, it's about one, being able to see how that person carried themselves. Like I wasn't just going around like, hey, I'm celibate, or hey, I'm waiting until marriage. Obviously I put it on social media, but like anytime I ran across someone, it's just about like having boundaries. Obviously sometimes the conversation will come up, but I wouldn't force it. I would, on the first date, I'm not going to be like, hey, are you waiting till marriage?
Yeah,
Like, it's like,
just vibe.
we're just going to vibe. But at the same time, you know, when it comes to dating, it was just like, hey, look, we can't chill at the house one-on-one. Like, you know, regardless of how my relationship with it is with God, I know myself, right? So I don't want to put myself in positions to fail. And I did at sometimes, like, especially early on. But when it came to just having discernment and having those conversations, it was just you have to really purify your mind and purify, like, to be set free from the old way of thinking.
Yeah.
And it was never, for me, if you wasn't on the same path as me, then that was cool. Like the main thing that really helped is just like when it came to approaching women or being having friends, it was just that. It was just like, you know what, like I want to change the way I view women. It's like, obviously there's a lot of, I'm going to be attracted to a lot of them, but it's just, it literally has to start with a friendship.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things. So sometimes I had that conversation because once you start hanging out with someone, you know, they're gonna want to take things to a higher level.
Yeah.
Like you go on a few dates, it's like, hey,
Even
where
yourself.
we at? Like even myself,
Yeah.
she's gonna start asking questions like, you know, like, well, I haven't came over yet, or what are we, and stuff like that. So it's like, I may have, like, for me, it was times where I had to not date someone past the first date. Not anything sexually, because it's like I seen we weren't aligned spiritually.
Yeah.
Or I seen that we weren't aligned, and you know, there were some deal breakers where it was just like, and like, I think you're a good person, but I just don't think we would fit. We would match. So it's like being able to stop things at that moment.
It's a lot of discipline.
That's
It's a lot of
So,
discipline,
but
bro.
that takes me, you know, completely just drawn closer to God, right? Like it's a lot more than just like avoiding that conversation or you know, just being equally yoked. That was
Yeah.
the main thing.
For me, I mean, I'm on my journey to find my wife, and this girl I'm kind of talking to right now a little bit, she brought that up when we started talking. She brought up, like, I hope you know I don't roll that way. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because I don't think she knew when she said that. I was like, yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe in that moment that I felt like that. You know what I'm saying? And since we've been talking, and since that's like not even in the picture, it kind of makes like the relationship stronger.
It does.
Yeah, it makes it like,
Yeah, it's
we
more pure.
gonna get to that. That's not even a big deal. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's crazy to me, like, taking this approach, you know what I'm saying? And you both getting closer to God and doing it through God. And it's just, it's amazing,
there's,
bro. It's crazy how it's amazing. Men, you should try it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bro, the shit is cool.
You want to know?
Like,
I think there's multiple like lusts in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, right, you had lust of the flesh, another one's lust of the world. People like attach themselves similar, like how you attach yourself to sex, attach yourself to money, right? So rather than you doing a craft or something that's purposeful, like we love to cut hair, but how many barbers have we seen fail because all they care about is the money?
yeah.
So they pick up this career. Oh, I'm gonna do this for the money, the income, you know, because I want to buy all these things in the world. I want to fulfill my worldly desires, and all of a sudden, they have no meaning. 20 years into a career, 15 years into a career, they're lost. And that's when you get that midlife crisis and you get that menopause. People don't want to accept it, but it's because you lack structure and discipline. There was moments you should have walked away from certain things. Although you desired it, we're not saying you didn't. You know, we all do. It was like I don't got a choice. I have to walk away from this because if I don't, I'm gonna lose myself in the world. You know what I'm saying? Easy money happens. How many times have you had friends get locked up for, I thought it was easy, bro, and it was, until they just couldn't walk away from it.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept when it comes to finding that person you love, bro. Sometimes you have to let him God. And that's something that in his life has worked. And right now you're talking about it. God just put this woman in your life.
Yeah.
And you, like you said, was like, thank Lord. Like,
Bro.
thank God, I'm good, baby.
But like really quick while we're on this, obviously I want that for you. Like, I want you to find your partner and I want you to have a fruitful relationship and a fruitful marriage. One thing that I learned was to not settle for just alignment in that area.
Ooh,
right?
that's a
So
good one.
like just because we're both celibate don't mean that
We're
we're
perfect.
the ones for each other.
That's a good one
So
right there.
like obviously I want the best for you, right?
Yeah.
But
I say, yeah,
that's
yeah.
tough too, because then it's just like when people be like, "Oh, what do you believe in? You believe in God?" And it's like, "Yeah, I've been there too." Like, "Oh, you believe in God?" "Yeah, well, I do too." Like, we good.
Yay. We're perfect.
Okay, you're waiting until
She's
marriage?
got to be the
Yeah.
one.
So it's just like, okay, that's just like one of the check boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So just continue to, obviously I don't know everything, right? But just continue to.
For sure. And it's the same thing for me. I've always, since I've been trying to find a wife, that's something that, like I said, I've always tried to be like, whatever, I can make her, whatever, I can do this way. Something that I was doing in that sense was, I want a Middle Eastern girl so bad. Oh, she's Middle Eastern. This is the one, because I never talked to any. You know what I'm saying? So I met one, like, what's up?
Right.
This is going to be it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then, bang, next. Oh, this one. You know what I mean? And he's seen it. He's laughing because he's known. Every time I met a new Middle
my
Eastern
wife
chick.
in high school. You know what I'm saying? And even if she sees this, she knows I love her to death. She believes in God, but she does not fear God the way I do. And there's now that God has gotten me, I'm telling you, bro.
You locked in, baby.
Seeing Mo every day pray back there got me closer to God. Although we're opposite, you say religions, but we're both Abrahamic God, right? When I seen him go bow his head 5 times a day, and I'm telling myself, why do I pray 5 times a day? And I'm seeing him go out there and fast. And Jesus told me to fast, and I haven't fasted in years since I was a little boy. My mom used to make me fast. And all of a sudden, it started to click, right? And I start to ask myself, man, I'm so blessed, bro. And I'm sure people are more blessed than me. But everyone has more than others, right? But I'm putting my life where I look back at my life, and I'm so blessed, bro. And I said, man, I haven't given God his time. So I started to give God his time. And it was hard because my wife doesn't fear God the way I do. So when I wake up in the morning, she's playing secular music, and I struggle with music, bro. And I gotta politely tell her, because she's a woman, I can't tell her, turn it off, because you just imagine an argument. Baby, you mind if you lower that? I'm gonna put on some gospel on my headphones on. She's like, no, I'm sorry, baby, it's okay. Boom, she just play. At least I feel like God's trying right there. But it's so much harder, bro.
Yeah.
It's, I don't want to be the person that drags her into church, because it's not how it works. So I try
to lead by
example,
You
bro.
got to.
And I am gonna help, and I know he spoke to me. I'm gonna help many, understand that over time.
Yeah.
Might be through this, might be through something else, might be through giving back turkeys. I don't know, but it could be at 70. You could be like Moses, you know what I'm saying? But in my mindset, bro, it's so much harder. And you're right, it is so much harder. I love my wife. I love you, baby. But it's so much harder because sometimes you don't want to be rude to the person you love.
Yeah.
I mean, she's my best friend. She gave me my best gift in the world. You know what I'm saying? She don't drink, she don't smoke, she don't party, she don't go to clubs. She's like one of those girls you'd be like, damn, like, only thing you're missing is coming to church on Sunday with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it is harder, bro.
But see, like with that, there's a scripture on that. I think it's in like one of the Corinthians where it's just talking about marriage and maybe the husband or the wife that has that relationship with God and the opposite doesn't. Honestly, man, it's just you hit it on the head about leading by example. But just I want to share that scripture with you when I find it. But it's you don't have to drag anyone to church, but obviously just being able to be that leader by example, being even if it's just like showing grace, even if it's just like showing how you forgiving, even if it's just like, and it's just like, dang, like how did you do that? And it's just really like,
lately it's been like that.
Yeah.
I used to have real short temper, bro. Growing up, always have had a short temper. And especially around when you get like comfortable with someone, that's when you really show that off, right? Like you might not have a short temper in front of us, maybe around someone you're really comfortable with, you can just expose that. And she would say things to me and I would just go do them, act on them. And she would look at me like, kind of like weird, and I'm working on things. Man, I'm gonna get better at it. The other day, she asked me to do something outside, and it was like, I was on some like, yo, it's like 8:30 at night. Like, why didn't you tell me this when I was heading home? But I didn't say that. I said, no problem. Like, I'll wait till you guys go to sleep. I went, boom, go to Publix, pick everything up, came back, put everything away, clean the kitchen. And she just couldn't believe it. She was just like, the next day she's like, oh, well, why did you just get up and go? And I was like, I don't know. I feel like, I'm trying to be a better husband. And if that's something that makes you happy, then I got nothing to do. I could kill time. I could go and come back.
Yeah.
And it was some moments that let you see God's working in your personal life too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right on that.
I will say this. I learned a lot from people around me's marriages. You know what I'm saying? Like good, bad, whatever. I learned so much. So something like that, like I'd be noting that stuff, bro. Like I'd be like, sometimes you gotta just say yes. You know what I'm saying? And do something you don't want to do instead of being like, nah, and smacking your lips.
Biting your tongue for me was one of the hardest things because I'm slick. I got a slick mouth, bro. Since I was a kid.
God.
I was witty. Yeah. Facts. I was real witty, so like that got me in a lot of trouble, bro.
Yeah.
And like now I sometimes catch myself just biting my tongue and I'd be like, I just start in my head praying like, Lord, like, Yeshua, please, somebody help me, because I want this so bad.
So,
but this with my wife or friends, sometimes friends, like, you got a friend that sometimes piss you off, and he's your boy though, and he pisses you off, and you want to tell something, you just gotta be like, I can't blow up right now. If I blow up right now, I'm proving the point of view wrong. So I'm like just quiet, just fake smile, like.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like we covered everything, bro. I feel like we left
great episode,
some things out, but I kind of want to leave that to the book.
the book.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like trust me, I want to ask you 100 more football questions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I get to ask you that in the chair. But I want everybody to know, but I'm sure the details and stuff is in the book, man. I will ask one more question. I don't know if you got any more, but since you mentioned something in the Bible, I do want to know if you have like one part of the Bible, what is it called? A quote, a scripture, that really, maybe right now it's weighing on you. Maybe it's one that started everything for you. Like, is there something is there a scripture in the Bible that you want to say right now that you could maybe, that really stuck with you throughout your life maybe?
Man, I would say a lot. I would say a lot, but just right now off the top of my head, I would just go with like Romans 12:1, Romans 12:2, and essentially what it's saying is to let God transform you by changing the way you think, and to not conform to the behaviors and patterns of this world. And it goes on along like that.
That's
that
what
whole,
he says all the time.
Oh, for real?
Nah, not that quote, but he says something like that all the time.
So I mean, like I said, I don't know it word for word by heart, but I know that's what it is. And right now that just jumped out to me because it's one thing to know who God is, but it's another thing. It really is another thing to like really truly be transformed by changing the way that you think. And just knowing, especially when people know who you used to be and having to get to know the new you, it's like that's just one of the ones that stick out to me. It's so many, but
yeah, I know that's a hard question to answer.
Not really.
I want to just say this. There's a verse where you pick up this countertop, you lift it up. I put Matthew 7:7 and Matthew 7:8 under there.
Okay.
And I used to love that verse because it's asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find, knock, the door shall be open. For those who ask, receive. For those who seek, find. For those who knock, the door's always open. And I always took that verse as like, I'm gonna ask God for this, and this is what He's gonna give it to me. And once He humbled my heart and began to change the man I was, right, the way I thought, now I realize that sometimes you gotta be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Right? That verse is almost telling you, asking you shall receive. He ain't telling you good or bad. It's like, hey, it's your choice to what you ask for in this world, right? What you manifestate, in a sense, right? And sometimes you gotta let God guide. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like when He begins to transform your mind, you stop asking, right? And you are cool with how He's guiding you in your life because you understand it's for a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's funny you said that because I was like, yo, that's how I feel right now in my life, where it's like I stopped asking. Like I catch myself being more grateful in prayer. You know what I mean? Like thank you for what you've given me, and thank you for what you've taken away. And that's the hardest one to say, right? Thanks for what you've taken out of my life, because sometimes you got friendships, business opportunities that I've lost on. I'm sure you have too. That you're like, damn, I could have made some cheddar off of this. And you realize like, but you might have lost yourself if you made the cheddar on it. You know?
Right now, somebody keeps trying to tell me to do some stock. right? And I missed out on a bag, right? And he's like, bro, I told you, da-da-da. And I'm like, bro, God don't want me to have that money, bro.
Right.
It just is what it is. Like,
Right.
maybe I would have crashed out. You know what I'm saying?
He was gonna give you the bag. Just sometimes.
Trust me. I was like, but like, God, hey, bro, God got me with a bigger bag. You know what I'm saying? That's how I take it.
Yeah, it's the timing because it's like you could, bro. It's crazy, and I don't know who's this for. And be somebody, one person watch this, man. I promise you. If you try to seek money, you will lose yourself in this world, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know why
I've done it.
I'm saying that, but I tell you about, do not seek money. Like, don't chase happiness with money. Like those two, that's the most evil world you can find in. Like God will give you everything you need in your life at all times, and more. Like He's gonna give you more to bless others. But once, bro, I seen that so much, and like with the youth, bro, and it kills me. I'm like, especially with the music and everything, it's all about getting the bag and getting the money. I'm like, yo, bro, like that's the worst thing you can tell a young kid.
Yeah, man.
His whole life is gonna be about money. He's gonna lose himself completely. And then me and you're gonna be like, nah, don't do that. And the kid's just not listening. He's deaf now, mute. Like he's, you know what I mean? And it's hard, bro.
So is there, before we wrap it up, man, is there anything you want to say to the camera?
A little shout out, you know what I'm saying?
anything?
Anybody, your wife, anybody, man. I don't gotta be your mama, your daddy, it don't matter.
Yeah, definitely shout out to my family. Shout out to God. Shout out to my wife, Glory. Shout out to everybody who supported me along throughout this journey. Be sure to go out. By the time this episode released, Unconquered Walk On, my book will be available on Amazon. So just please go support. Link in bio. You know, go support. If you like to, I would greatly appreciate it. But that's about it.
You know, man, I'm so nervous about this book because I feel like every time you come in, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna have to like mention it. And I'm gonna read it, brother. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna read it. Don't put no pressure on me, dog.
I'm never.
Don't put no pressure on me.
That's next is the audible.
Let me tell you something.
You got a really good voice, bro. You got a really good voice, bro.
Let me tell you something. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna try to read a page a day.
Hey, the hardest thing about Audible, I'm not gonna lie to you, is there are some books like 48 Laws of Power. It's a book I read back then. I tried to do the Audible to refresh it, and it was hard. Because the person reading it, it's a big book. He is trying to get through the pages. And it's not a soothing voice. Like, so that you sometimes you fast forward, and you're not really like listening to it, but you got a good voice, bro. And like this is an example of Audible right here, bro.
Yeah, man, we're wrapping things up, bro. Just before we leave, I want to give you your flowers, bro, and tell you how proud I am. And you know, we didn't even mention you have your own podcast. You know, you're a football coach, a high school football coach. Just everything you're doing, bro. And I know what's the motivation behind it, the purpose behind it, man. And you know, I hope everybody can really watch this and say it was so motivational, man, and reach out to me, and I'll let you know, man, because you'll see in the comments and stuff, bro. Like, so proud of you, bro. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. You're motivating so many people. You motivated me so much. I lost so much weight because of you. I mean, I got close to God because of you. I promise, bro. Like, a lot of people played a part in me, but the conversations that we've had in my chair, bro, like, it really sparked something in me, bro. Yeah. So thank you, bro. Seriously, and thank you for coming, bro.
I appreciate you for having me, man.
Real, man.
Always supported me.
For sure.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man, for giving us a chance, bro. And I love your story, bro, man. God bless, bro.
Thank you.
You're the man, bro. Thank you.
Dancing, pick it.